Hello, and welcome back to @Gathgar, where I read Reddit posts. I have just gotten back from the gym. Ooh, got 70K. It's collected. Today was leg day, and my trainer was really mean. Had to do leg presses. You start, come out, so you're in a standing kind of position in a sense, but you're sitting down. Then you go down and do like 3 pulses, and on the fourth pulse, I guess 4 pulses, but after the fourth one, you go up. I had to do that for 15 reps, and he kept increasing the weight all the way up to 225 pounds, and it was not pleasant. Um, and I got some meaty legs. They are nice to look at though. So most of that is genetics. I think we're only going to get through one story today because this one's a pretty long one. I just heard this from a YouTuber. I guess I should. I don't want to feel like I'm running off of his coattails, but because it kind of feels like that. But I have my own take on it, more so to his comment sections. So he's not like a huge, humongous YouTuber or anything, but his channel does nothing but Reddit stories. I'll link his video in the description. I'm only going based off of the first story he said, or that he read. More of this is my takes on this, which are, I would say, probably close to what his takes are, but more so to his comment sections. There were some people in his comment sections that I really disagreed with, and they were overstepping. Then I came here and read some of the comments on the actual post, the original post. Let me make sure I go to the original post, because I don't care about. I guess it's on a repost. I forget what it's called, but like OOP. I don't know. When somebody else posts another person's story, I don't really get that. It makes sense if the original story has been deleted or whatever, and then the person's posting it. Doesn't make any sense if if the original poster still has it up on their channel or whatever it's called. Okay, so we're in Am I the Asshole? And the title is Am I the Asshole for letting my stepdaughter wear a black dress to a wedding? Right off the bat, I think this is slightly misleading, but let's get into it. I, 48 male, need some input. My wife, Linda, 40, was the maid of honor for my cousin, Susan, 38. We've been together for 10 years, married for 7, and we have 2 children together. A 5-year-old son, and a 4-year-old daughter, along with my stepdaughter, Tiffany, who is 16. Tiffany is very goth/emo. She pretty much only ever wears black. Even her pajamas will at least have evil Hello Kitty on them. Linda is very detail and image oriented and can be a bit of a micromanager. She gets very hung up on weddings. She was a bit of a bridezilla at ours, and I joked that Susan had made her maid of honor because she needed a bridal attack dog. Linda wasn't amused, and I stopped making that joke. Fair. And so I'm gonna kind of do it a little differently because I get lost in the weeds when, like, the names are said early on, and then I keep forgetting who's who. So just let's remember, Susan's the cousin of OP. Yes, Susan's the cousin for OP. Linda's the wife of OP, and Tiffany is the stepdaughter of OP. So I might say that here and there just so I don't get confused. Okay. In the time leading up to the wedding, my wife was fighting with Tiffany over what Tiffany would wear to the wedding. Linda wanted her to wear a normal dress, and Tiffany refused. Linda ultimately gave her an ultimatum. Okay, kind of redundant. To pick out an acceptable dress, or she would pick out one for her. Tiffany still refused to budge, and this ended up with Linda going out on her own and buying a peach-colored dress that was completely outside of Tiffany's style and telling her that this was what she was going to wear to the wedding. Like, already, Uh, this is a pretty long post. Let me not stop here because otherwise this video will be hours long. Let's just put a pin in that and let's just kind of put a little note. I don't like how Linda, the mom of Tiffany, is handling this. But let's trudge on. This is a pretty long post. The day of the wedding, Linda's maid of honor duties had her with the wedding party super early in the morning and gone all day. I was going to meet her there along with the kids. Along with my stepdaughter. I dropped off our younger kids with my eldest daughter. Oh, okay. Anyways, I did a couple quick errands and I got back to our house just in time to leave if everything went smoothly. Well, that's some poor time management in my opinion, but maybe it gets addressed later. When I got there, Tiffany was not wearing the peach dress, but instead she was wearing a fancy black dress that was much more like what she normally wears. Lace sleeves, kind of a corset thing going on, longer in the back than in the front, basically what I would have expected her to wear to a wedding. I asked her if this is what her mom said she could wear, and she said not to worry about it and that it was too late to change anyway. I tried telling her that she should change into the other dress, but she said that there was enough time and changing dresses would take forever, and furthermore, that her makeup wouldn't match the other dress anyway. And this was calculated on Tiffany. This is Tiffany going against her mother's wishes, rightfully so, in my opinion, because Tiffany is 16, and to a certain extent, really trying to force a drastic style change on somebody. It's like, is it worth it? Like, all right. All right, so we arrived at the ceremony, and Linda was kind of preoccupied with helping Susan and all that. But she low-key grilled me about what Tiffany was wearing, and I just shrugged and explained to her the situation as it was. She was already wearing this dress, already had her hair and makeup done, makeup wouldn't match the other dress, and there was no time to change it all, etc. Nothing to be done about it at this point. She didn't have a whole lot of time to hang around and talk with me with everything going on. Tiffany got some looks, but she always does. She does stand out a bit, as you might expect. People seemed mostly fine with her anyways. Tiffany rode with me to the reception. She had been studiously dodging her mother as much as possible. Obviously. Shortly after we were there, I noticed Tiffany's best friend Bethany, 16, hanging around in a slightly more understated goth dress. Apparently, she drove herself, and Tiffany helped her crash the party. It was a big venue with a lot of guests, and she was pretty easy to ignore. This is one point, and we can come back to it. I would have talked, if I had a stepdaughter or a daughter or whatever, I would have talked to her and been like, hey, what are you doing? Like, this is where you go, hey, no. You can't invite your friend. This isn't your event. This is this other person's event. Now, if you want, it's pretty late, and I think it's still tactless to do it now, but if you want, you can go and ask the bride if Bethany can come in, but I think here is maybe where OP kind of messed up, because I would have told Bethany, sorry, you can't come in. That's what I would have done. Then again, I probably would have asked, since the bride's my cousin, I might would have asked, like, hey, can my stepdaughter, maybe not to the ceremony, but to the reception, can my stepdaughter invite a friend? Like, I think I would ask. At least, like, hey, so my stepdaughter's not bored. And, if I'm close enough to my cousin, I can't imagine one of my cousins, well, I don't have any female cousins, but, no, I do have one female cousin. Anyways, I'm not really close with that one, but the ones I am close with, I don't think they would really mind. Like, if that was the case, if I asked them ahead of time, or a brother or something, I don't think they would mind. Especially if I asked in advance. So this one's a little like, okay, OP may want to, but let's continue. My wife and my cousin both work for my dad's company, so I was at a table with him and some of their coworkers. He noticed that Tiffany had snuck Bethany in and alerted me. When he elbowed me, oh my god. When he elbowed me, pointed, and said, they're multiplying. Okay. Well, this paragraph kind of contradicts the previous paragraph. Because it reads that you saw Bethany before you went into the reception, and now you're saying that your father is the one that noticed that Tiffany had snuck in Bethany. So which is it? Which is it? Maybe I'm not fully understanding how he wrote it. Maybe he wrote it wrong, but okay. My statement still stands, especially even if she's already there. Like, throughout the reception, Tiffany and Bethany were taking photos of each other, mostly Bethany taking them of Tiffany. Her mom got on her again, but with the wedding planner somehow MIA, she couldn't devote too much attention to them. She told me to handle them and that they were drawing too much attention. Yeah, probably. They agreed to tone it down, and they were much more subtle / subdued after that. Bethany had a collapsible camera stand stick thing she had been setting up around different places, and she either stopped using it or stayed out of the way more. Both of them seemed to just stay out of the way, stay out from underfoot too much. Linda gave me a few looks during the wedding itself and the reception, but she was very busy, and she seemed to have to put on a face to keep from adding to drama during the day, and she laid into me on the way home. She was upset that I let Tiffany come to the wedding looking like a vampire and drawing attention to herself. She said I knew she was supposed to wear the other dress and not be in so much makeup. To hear her tell about it, Tiffany was a total spectacle and her appearance was totally inappropriate. Linda said that it's never reading words very difficult. Linda said that it's never appropriate for a guest to wear black to a wedding, that Tiffany's dress was too eye-catching, that she was embarrassed and mortified, and that I let Tiffany do whatever she wants. She said that I shouldn't have let Tiffany and her friend turn the wedding into a cosplay event and the reception into their private photo shoot. Disagree with all that? In my defense, yes, I knew they had been fighting about the dress and makeup, but I had been doing errands that Linda gave me before I got home. And when I got home, Tiffany was already dressed. We didn't have a whole lot of time, and I know from experience that she can take quite a while changing clothes and doing makeup. As I mentioned, she said that her makeup wouldn't match the other dress anyways. I unfortunately don't. I mean, I guess when I think of a goth makeup, it's a lot of white makeup or powder or whatever the hell it is. So obviously that would look a little weird in each dress. I looked up. She didn't draw that much attention at the wedding. Sure, she got some looks. She always does, but it was nothing major. Her and her friend hardly turned the reception to a private photo shoot. Mostly it was just Bethany taking some photos. Tiffany did kind of awkwardly hang around the photographer until he took some pictures of her, but it wasn't enough to derail anything. By this point, it seemed like he was just looking for interesting things to shoot, and I guess she fit the bill. The girls cooled it with their own photo setups after I talked to them. Linda complained about Tiffany having a bouquet she was posing with, but she didn't even have that when we left the house. Bethany brought a bouquet of fake black roses with her when Tiffany let her in, I guess. I'm pretty sure I've seen that same bouquet before. Susan didn't even care that much if she noticed at all. I've tried to tell Linda lots of time that lots of things don't need to be a problem unless you decide to make them a problem. I've also told her that you have to pick your battles with teenage girls, and that the more you try to fight with them, the more you end up getting drama and pushback. I'm a bit more experienced in this area. I have 2 adult daughters, 28 and 22, who are both total daddy girls, even to this day. Tiffany is Linda's oldest and was her only one until our kids together. Let me go back up here. Oh, 8 years. Okay. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I've always had a great relationship with Tiffany, even since she was a little kid. And part of this is probably because I don't pick fights with her like her mom does. Linda says that I let her do whatever she wants. That's not true. I'm very strict with her about grades and chores. She used to leave huge messes in the bathroom with makeup and hair stuff. Linda fought with her about it, while I just sort of calmly explained that everyone needs to clean up after themselves, and if she's going to make a mess in there, she has to be the one to clean it. And it was fine. She'll babysit for me when I ask, but again, her mom always turns it into some kind of power struggle that turns into an argument to try to micromanage and add additional tasks, while I just ask her if she can watch her little brother and sister for just a bit. And if she's okay with, then that's good enough. Sometimes, if I need to bribe her, I'll bribe her. Just a little pan again right here. If it's for a little bit, and I do mean a little bit is no more than 30 minutes, that's a little bit. If it's hitting an hour, that's not a little bit. At a certain point, you should, if you did not have this 16-year-old to watch your child who's 16, if you did not have her and you would have called a babysitter and paid a babysitter, you should pay your oldest child. You should pay the child. Your child should be paid to watch their siblings. They're not free slaves. They didn't have these kids. So if you want them to watch them, you got to pay them. If you would have paid a babysitter, you're going to pay your kid. Don't be an asshole. But, let's give him some grace, I guess. As far as her being embarrassed in front of her coworkers, they thought Tiffany was cute. And even after Bethany crashed it, it was more just something to occasionally talk about than anything anyone was scandalized. Anything anyone was scandalized over. We made a few jokes about it, about the Goth invasion, and that was it. I was around them and my dad way more than she was that night, and no one minded. She even spent some time talking about makeup with my mother. I guess she being Tiffany. So, long story long, my wife is still getting after my stepdaughter about what she wore to the wedding, being moody about it and causing unnecessary tension, while I've just told her that that this doesn't matter and it doesn't have to be a thing. She's had some of her friends, notably not the bride herself, my cousin, nor any of her coworkers who were actually at the wedding, chime in about how I'm an asshole for this, but I just feel like she's making something out of nothing. Am I the asshole for letting my stepdaughter wear a black dress to a wedding? So this is one of those. You didn't let her wear a black wedding dress or wear a black dress to a wedding. It's not like you let her. You were doing something else while she was getting ready. She's 16, but you were doing errands that your wife had given you. So obviously it's not like you can watch your 16-year-old daughter to make sure she follows her mother's rules because you were out doing something else. So it's not like you let her. She made a decision that could not be rectified in the moment because otherwise you'd been late, and obviously Linda would have been mad that you were late. So you're like, all right, it's already done and over with. No point in crying over this or making this a bigger deal than it is. Let's just go. She was dressed appropriately in the sense that, it wasn't outlandish, because there are some goth outfits that can be out there, and I think maybe you tone that down a little bit. But Linda's stupid. Linda is stupid. Oh, this was reposted to 2 Hot Games. I know that. I used to listen to that channel. I don't anymore. I don't like their opinions on things. Some of them were okay, but a lot of times it was not taking into account double standards, and it was always, oh, the man did it? Well, I guess he's an asshole. Oh, a woman did that same thing? She had her reasons. That's how I felt on some of those stories. Anyways, let me see if I can find the update. Oh my god. This update is so... Okay. He has an update that came out 18 days later from the original post. Or 10 days later from the original post. I can math. Update. Am I an asshole for blah, blah? We don't need the title again. Okay, just a brief update. This is not brief. In case anyone was wondering. I had a talk with Linda, and we covered a lot of the same points that people brought up here in the thread. I had already mentioned to her that getting into fights over things that don't really matter only causes tension and resentment between her and Tiffany. I also emphasized the fact that Tiffany is almost an adult, and pushing her away might eventually make her stay away. I agree with that statement. I would have written it better and a little bit more succinct, probably. Linda seemed to take it in when I emphasized that she has to let Tiffany be who she wants, and that she can't really force the matter as if she were a little kid. We got together with both our parents over Mother's Day, and my mom told Linda that she thought Tiffany's outfit had been very pretty, that she admired the effort Tiffany put, or the effort Tiffany puts into her work, or into her look, I should say, and that Tiffany was a charming young lady as usual. She and I noted that it had been very much more pleasant to have. It would not. What? Noted that it would have been much more unpleasant to have a miserable, sulking teenager being uncomfortable and resentful throughout the night. True that. Linda's own mom was a little bit more judgmental, but she mostly held her tongue beyond the few looks and offhand remarks. Of course, everyone already knew that her views on fashion were a lot more conventional, and that she thinks I'm too lax and permissive. I could see some people thinking you're too lax and permissive, but those people are assholes. Most people that think parents that take in account or let their 16, maybe 15, it's probably pushing it, but especially at 16, because one, you're 2 years away from being an adult, maybe about a year or so from graduating high school and going into college. You're able to drive. Like at this point, a lot of less. You're really no. I mean, you're still parenting, but you're not as authoritative as you should be. If you're having to be really authoritative at this point, then you did a bad job parenting. In my humble opinion, I don't have kids, but I was a kid, and it feels like a lot of people forget what it's like being a kid. I don't know if childbirth or having to deal, when they're an infant, you forget what being a kid is like, because a lot of parents just have this, like this amnesia, like they weren't a kid 20 or so years ago. It's so bizarre. It's baffling to me. Because it's like, yeah, they're coming to their own. They still need your guidance. They're still gonna fuck up. Tiffany was acting like a typical 16-year-old girl. Wanting to take pictures or so, because I remember, not that I didn't really care, but I had a lot of friends in high school at 16, they loved to take selfies because we had selfies. I would imagine that, 48, so he wouldn't have been around, like him and his wife, maybe his wife, no, she would have been born like 85, give or take, 85, 84, so by the time she was a teenager, I don't think it wasn't as popular anyways. But maybe she had some type of, cellular device and she was taking selfies. At the time, she probably didn't, but even if you take the technology we have now and you put it back in time, us humans are going to behave almost the same way. Like a generation after, all the kids are going to behave the same way. You're going to be taking selfies because people were taking selfies back in the 70s and 80s with the little, I don't know if the 70s had it. I know the 80s definitely had it at that point in the 90s, but like Polaroid, like people were taking selfies at that point. We had cameras. And it wasn't as infectious as cell phones, but you were still taking pictures. So I don't like when people are like, oh, you're too permissive. It's like, what? Because I'm taking my almost adult daughter, like somebody who needs to be able to be accountable and know how to make decisions because she's able to drive, because I kind of have her input and I don't really push back because it's really not needed. I'm permissive? Okay, you're just a dick. We don't actually see my wife's parents that often, just a few times a year. If not for the wedding, this might have been the first time seeing them since at least around Thanksgiving. I guess the last year. But I did note to Linda that given the choice, Tiffany clearly spends more time with my mom than her own biological grandmother. I did have Tiffany go ahead and apologize to Susan, just in case, and I chatted with her briefly as well. Susan hadn't initially noticed, / known that Bethany wasn't invited. It was a big wedding at a big venue, and she wasn't too fussed over it. Apparently she was still within the margins of the planning. I think this worked out, but good on him for having Bethany, or at least Tiffany. I would also have Bethany apologize to Susan for having somebody crash the wedding. So I don't mind, quote unquote, coddling Tiffany a little bit. I just try to be a good dad. I'm the only father that she has. My wife's late husband passed away a couple of years before we met. I could tell that she needed a dad, and I was glad to treat her the same as I had my older girls. I guess it's not always easy being a step parent, but Tiffany and I have always gotten along, and I love her. Which, I mean, the worst case scenario, if you trying to put malice in here, he's being the cool parent, maybe, because we'll get to that in some of the comments. He's being the cool parent, but he's still being a good step parent. He's being a phenomenal stepfather, in my opinion. I had a stepfather, my two younger brothers' stepfather, and he was an absolute cunt. So he's taken that reign of, yes, father role, which is great. Some stepfathers don't. Some take it too seriously, and some are just absolute pricks. But he's right there, and he knows, because he's had kids, daughters specifically, so he knows when not to overstep, when not to push things. Let's continue. Linda can be a bit type A, and she was definitely super stressed about the wedding. She ended up with a lot on her plate, practically needing to step into the wedding planner's shoes. The planner's son was in the hospital. He's totally fine now, probably an allergic reaction or something. It was a wonder that day went as smoothly as it did. She was hugely responsible for how smoothly it went. She ultimately admitted that I probably did the right thing, but I told her that every girl wants to look pretty and feel confident, and you should almost always let them not do a thing. What? You should almost always let them not do a thing that's... Okay, I'm gonna read it as written. Maybe I'll make sense of it. You look pretty and feel confident, and you should almost always let them not do a thing. That's how it's going to make them look and feel. You should always let them do a thing or not. I don't know what he's trying to say here. It was also worth pointing out that Tiffany would have looked wild in the picture in a peach dress with goth makeup, more so if she was clearly in a rotten mood. The two of them seemed to have patched things up quite a bit. We all had a really nice brunch together, so all's well that ends well, I guess. So that's where that ends. I don't know what sentence he's trying to say here. You should almost always let them not do a thing. That's how it's going to make them look and feel. I guess, look pretty and feel confident, and you should almost always let them do something so they don't feel bad about themselves, I guess. Like, I don't know what he's trying to say here. We can read some. Let's read some of the other from the original one, because I don't really care about the update. So I guess top comment, or at least the top one, the one that was more recent, on the original post from 9ball22. I dropped the clothes argument for now. The fact that she encouraged an uninvited guest to crash the wedding and take selfies all over the place is a much larger issue. Potentially. It says, I know the post is from somebody that responded to that. It's cat pics time. Oh, it's cat pics time. What's hard to say? I know the post is about the clothes, but OP seems weirdly unbothered by this. Somebody else, Mochisaurus_Rex, found into that, saying OP seemed to be prioritizing what is actually causing issues. I agree with that. 1. Tiffany wore a black goth dress that seemed to be different, but not inappropriate. People noticed because it was different. People noticed only because it was different. Also, guests do wear black to weddings. I don't think this is a big deal. Yeah. I recently found out through some of the Reddit from another YouTuber that does mostly Reddit-based, wedding-based Reddit posts. Apparently wearing red to a wedding is scandalous. I did not know that. Did not know that. Not that I'm going to be wearing red to a wedding. I obviously agree with the, not wearing white, but at a certain point, it's like, who cares? Like, the whole point of white was to signify purity, and in our day and age, like, it's not really a thing. Like, you can still be pure, but the whole point of it was to signify that the woman has not had sex, and she's therefore pure and worthy of being married now, or she's not used goods. That's essentially what wearing white meant, and we already know that that's archaic and stupid. Anyway, Tiffany usually and it's only like a Western tradition. I think somewhere in African countries. It's kind of wild, but it's like an all white party. I think they all wear white. I may be wrong. Maybe it's not just maybe it was a specific event. I'm pretty sure it was a wedding and everybody wore white. Everybody wore white. It was actually kind of deep, dope. Looking anyway. I wasn't there. I just watched it on a video. Okay. Another point. Tiffany usually wears black, and her mom bought her a peach dress. Gross. If anything, Tiffany's mom could have taken Tiffany shopping for a less gothic black dress or another dress in a darker color, like navy blue, burgundy. I say good for Tiffany here. It's one of those. I would have still had a talk with Tiffany, but I also would have had a talk with my wife, like even before the day of the wedding. I'd be like, why are you gonna force? Why are you forcing a peach dress on your daughter? You know she's not gonna wear it. You know she's gonna be in a bad mood, and then she's gonna be in a bad mood, and then you're gonna be in a bad mood. Why are you wasting your energy and your effort on something that does not matter? And don't tell me it's aesthetic. It's controlling. It's gross. It's unappealing. It's unattractive. To just want to, you're doing this. You're doing what I want you to do. No, I don't like what? And you're just gonna force her to want to not do it. Or you had to be somewhat lax, which is why it seems Tiffany listens to OP. Because he treats her as another person, not a controllable doll to do as he wishes. He goes, hey, there's these guidelines, gives a rational reason as to why you like, hey, we need to do this for these reasons. And 100%, when you have somebody that is quote unquote the cool parent, and they're still disciplining you, but they do it in a cool way. They explain it. They don't belittle you. They don't talk down to you or treat you like a child, even though you're still a child. But they don't treat you like an 8-year-old. They treat you like a person, a potential adult. You're not fully an adult yet. You don't have that freedom yet. But they're gearing you ready to be an adult. And that's how parenting should be. You should be gearing your children to be an adult. You have to be stricter when they're younger, and as they get older, you kind of lessen the restrictions. Now, when they mess up, when they do something stupid, when they inevitably, or, and this is kind of child dependent because each child is different. Each child, because there is some nature to this where it doesn't matter how well of a, parent you are to your child, they may just turn out and still be an asshole and still be horrific. Like, it's just a thing. Like, that's not something you can really. But for the regular, like, average person, you teach and you explain and you don't judge and you don't act like you're holier than thou to your children, and they can see your flaws. You explain your flaws. I'm talking about like human flaws, not like, oh yeah, my flaw, I beat my wife, on this no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like you just talk to them like an adult and explain, hey, we need to do this and this reason. I don't know. The few people that talk to me in that way, my father was one of them in a sense, where it's like, oh, okay, all right. Like teachers would do that I had, and I had way more respect for them. The ones that were assholes and really controlling and restrictive, it's like, I don't give a shit about you. Like, just rebellion. Why feed into rebellion? Teenagers already want to rebel. Why feed into it? Feed into it as least as you can. Anyways, another point. Tiffany brought a guest. The guest list seemed big, and OP didn't say that the friends sat at a table and ate somebody's food, which is irrelevant. They were being obnoxious with the photo shoot, but toned it down when spoken to. I personally don't think this is a big deal either. Potentially, I think OP did up here. He should have. Maybe in that moment, you don't go to the bride, because you don't want to bring attention to it. I think I would have asked Bethany to leave. I think I would. I'm like, Bethany, you can't be here. I don't know. Maybe the vibes, you're there and you're like, nobody seems to notice or care, whatever. But if it did become a big deal, like, I would pay because it's my child that messed up, I would pay, like, if some extra fee came from this, like, okay, and I would explain it to Tiffany. Tiffany would be in trouble, but I would pay the expense because she'd be my child and she messed up. I'm the one that has to deal, I'm the one that has to fix her mess up until she's 18. OP cares about grades and chores. Tiffany hits this mark because Tiffany respects her stepfather because he treats her like a potential adult. OP asks Tiffany, "Oh no, where did it go? You hit one thing and things disappear. Technology, ugh, you boomer." Okay. OP asked Tiffany to watch their younger siblings from time to time. OP also said that Tiffany got the kids ready for the wedding. Assuming OP would not be asking an irresponsible person to watch and help out the kids, this means that she's responsible. Assuming OP would not and help out the kids. This person is missing a word because you're putting assuming. Assuming OP would not ask an irresponsible person to watch and help out the kids. This means Tiffany's responsible. This was a huge plus for me being on Team Tiffany. All in all, Tiffany is acting her age. Bringing an additional guest is a little weird, but she managed to find a way to keep herself entertained in a boring situation without being too disruptive. Am I not fond of weddings? I am not too fond of weddings as an adult, and I definitely was not fond of them as a kid or teenager. Same. Never. I don't think I've been to many. Actually, as an adult, I haven't been to a single one. No. I was to my mom's. So my mom got remarried in 22. Yes, May of 22. So that was the only wedding I've been to. I was the man of honor. That was fun. I didn't have to do anything. She did everything, but like the wedding day, I was like, nobody's fucking this up. That was a fun wedding. I don't think I've been to another wedding. I know my cousin got married in 2017, but I was working that night, so I couldn't make it. I'm glad I didn't really want to make it, but whatever. Personally, I would also think it's cute if I saw a teenager wearing goth clothes at a wedding. The kid is expressing herself and it's not hurting anyone. Also. Anyways, OP prioritizes things with his stepdaughters, grades, chores, and helping to care for the siblings. All more important things. Tiffany does all these things. Everything else isn't a big deal in my eyes. Yeah, I agree with that. Fully, wholeheartedly agree with that. Now, we're going to go to, I don't know if I said it before, but it's Mark Narrations. Again, I'll link this video in the description because I'm going to talk about some of the comments in this section. I don't know if I can find it. I think it's the very top one. This one is from a YouTube person. I don't know if she's a YouTuber or not, but the comments on YouTube. Sherry Lyle 80s. I have to imagine that this is a woman. I don't know. Heavy costume makeup, black roses, letting the friend crash the wedding, harassing the photographer is more of an issue to me than the dress. But the dress seems to be the wrong focus. I just wildly disagree with this comment. Heavy costume makeup? Who said it was heavy costume makeup? Like, maybe because I know absolutely dick all about makeup. Was his heavy costumey makeup? I don't know if that's intentional, if that's a misspike. Maybe goth. Because I kind of remember goth makeup and stuff, and I guess it's heavy, but I don't know if Black Roses. Does he say Black Roses? I don't want to go back. Maybe he does. The letting the friend cross the wedding, quote unquote, harassing the photographer. He said that she just hung around him awkwardly. I wouldn't call that harassing, but I would say it's typical teenager stuff. So much that I wouldn't even. Maybe I check with the photographer and be like, "Are you okay? Like, is she being too pushy? Do I need to step in?" I could see that, but I don't think that's an issue. People responding to that going, "Oh yeah, I can't believe people aren't talking about this." Somebody responding to the original one, to Cheryl to Sherry, Juliana, not a fan of hers. Look how many enablers she has in the comments, though. Look at how these people don't care about the bride and groom, but a spoiled, rotten, selfish teen. Pause. She's not that spoiled nor rotten. She's a teenager, and by default, teenagers are rotten and selfish. I mean, everybody was. Even if you weren't as much as others, you still were somewhat selfish because your hormones. How come anyone is surprised that there is so much crime and violence when people are siding with Tiffany's behavior? Crazy people in the comments. Stupid things make me cough and choke on my spit. This is such a dumb take. How come everybody is surprised that there is so much crime and violence? This has nothing to do. No, I mean, I get what this person is trying to say, like, oh, because we have entitled, like, yeah, no, there are parents out there that aren't parenting their kids, and not in this case. Somebody that is on my side, and I unfortunately, okay, I think this is just Mudkip's chance lore, but it's a lot of uppercase, lowercase. Response to Juliana. A lot of us got married and don't care how people dress. They came to see us get married, not pledge allegiance to some bridezilla dress code. Seems the bride didn't mind either, so I doubt there even was one. I guess a dress code. I see a lot of dog mom bumper stickers in your future. It's kind of irrelevant. I don't know whether we're saying that. Another one, Venus Blue 5764. Yeah, I'm amazed not more people are mentioning anything outside of the controlling mom argument. Like, a lot of liberties were taken here. I think that's on. Somebody's. No, I'm not gonna read that name. Which is, the dress is the least of the issues. I kind of agree with that. The bigger issue is the wife. Yeah, this is from Hot Heat 3000. Yeah, this is enabling crappy behavior to be a cool parent. No. Lilith666 responding to Juliana. The whole post came off more like stepdad was in competition with the mother. I don't think the mother's issue was just with the dress. The stepdad sounds more like he is more interested in being the cool parent that the daughter, or who the daughter likes more. It didn't even sound like he likes his wife. Just because a wedding is huge and the bride didn't notice it first doesn't make allowing the behavior he did okay. I would say allowing the friend to crash the wedding. It doesn't matter how big and they could accommodate it. That is rude. That is disrespectful, and I would talk to Tiffany about it. Be like, hey, you can't do things like that. That is very disrespectful. You can ask, even if you don't want to ask the bride directly, but before the wedding, leading up to it, you can ask me. You should have asked me if you could have invited a friend, and then I ask my cousin, hey, is it okay if my stepdaughter brings a friend? I'll pay whatever extra fee that may cost. I don't care what it is. So my daughter has somebody to talk to, so she's not bored. And not constantly on her phone or not in a bad, sour mood. Like, that's not going to be fun for anybody, because then you're just going to be mad that she's in a bad, sour mood. So that's what he should have done. But granted, she was a teenager in that moment, and I think I would, regardless of whoever the bride was, I think I would just walk up to the bride and be like, hey, I know this is your day, this is very special. We have it's for my daughter. If you're okay with it, if it costs you anything, let me know. I'll pay that difference. If you're fine with it. If not, I'm going to kick her out. But, my child's being a typical teenager. But I would have addressed it to somebody. Maybe not directly to the bride, but I would have addressed it to somebody in the bridal party that then addressed to the bride. So that's the one point that he failed on me. But the rest of the point, what is this person talking about? More like dad was in competition with the mother. Where do you get that the dad's in competition with the mother? Where? It's like people either don't have reading comprehension or listening skills to be able to regurgitate things, and they half listen to things. Granted, the way Mark does his videos, the text is on the screen. And again, I don't really care about Mark's impressions. He basically has the same sentiments that I do. That's kind of irrelevant to for, you know, for bringing his I don't really care. Um, he usually, out of all the people that I listen to, just a side tangent, usually has a pretty level-headed approach to most Reddit stories. Some I might not agree with, but I do like at least like okay, I can see where you're coming from. I think there's very few, if any, that I full on disagree with. But it's again more so in this comment section. But it's just competition. What are you talking about? He's just treating her like he treated his other daughters with respect and didn't try to control them on things that are not important. Because at the end of the day, is it more important that she gets good grades and knows how to take care of herself and how to live in a clean environment, like a clean household? Or is it more important that she dresses a certain way? Like, at the end of the day, okay, she's going to dress a certain way. You're going to have the conversation of, okay, if you're going to dress this way, you might get some looks. Are you okay with the looks and people may be joking and laughing at you? You're going to have to be resilient on that and teach confidence. Not that people can't do that. People are going to do that. They're going to do that regardless. But I don't get... And he doesn't really seem like he's trying to be the cool parent. Because when he saw her in the wrong dress, he said something to Tiffany. He said, "Hey, you're not. Is that really the dress you're supposed to be wearing? Aren't you supposed to be wearing the other dress?" Like he was going based off his wife's wants. Like he mentioned it, and Tiffany, being a teenager, skirted it and, but you know, intentionally did something she knew would not be rectifiable because she knew she'd get in more trouble, or other people would get in more trouble if they were late, because Linda definitely would have been mad if they were late, especially because of Tiffany. 100% Linda would have been. The wife would have been way madder if they had been late. So, but it was just Tiffany, a teenager, pushing boundaries, which is what teenagers do. And because he didn't let her. She made the decision, and he's like, all right, we don't have time to fix it. You've already made this decision. Well, let's just deal with the consequences going forward. So there's no, oh, he wants to be the cool parent. No, it doesn't sound like he wants to be the cool parent. Her mother is too controlling. And so stepdad is by de facto the cool parent, it sounds like, but not because he's trying to be the cool parent. It's because he's being rational and treating his stepdaughter with respect, and not in a controlling manner. Like he's not trying to raise her to be obedient with every little thing. Again, I've said it so many times, but it's just, I don't... Ooh. Somebody else responding to Juliana. Look, forgive me. Lila Rifi? It's Lily Rifi. Rifi? Responding to Juliana, your take is wild, judging a behavior that was not an issue to anyone attending the wedding, apart from her mother, who doesn't know how to pick her battles, calling it spoiled, rotten, and selfish, and linking it to crime and violence. Straight up. Again, I get where Juliana's coming from to some degree, but that's more, especially nowadays. That's more. It is parent related, but it is also city, town, state related because of certain political leanings, and we're not going to get into any of that. But yeah, it's not really from somebody replying to Lilith, the same person replying to Lilith 6.6. Knowing when to let go is not being a cool parent. You can't pick all the battles and expect to win all of them. If you do, well, we had hundreds of stories how it ends up for the mom. Her behavior was corrected. She was asked to stop harassing the photographer, and she did. And she also kind of toned down the photo shoot that they were doing. The only thing that was warranted a talk afterward was her friend crashing the wedding, since the bride and groom didn't care about it during. And I think we're going to kind of leave it there, because I kind of want to imagine this video is going on super long. I did not want really too long, very long videos, but I guess that's just how I talk. I can go on and rant and rant. over pretty pointless and menial things. uh, I got tired of talking to myself in the car, so what the fuck? Okay, I thought the game was going to crash there for a second. I was squared. Um, huh. Actually kind of shocked. I only got 12 million, and I'm not gonna. I guess we can get that to 76. I don't. I've realized because I have this on my phone, the game, and it's wildly different than the Steam one because it has a lot of Mario themed stuff on it, and straight up just Mario. And this one has taken it out, especially in like the mini games. Uh, but I have realized, especially if the point is to get to the end, because the whole point, from what I can gather, is to get, at least your first go through, is to get the prestige. And you only get prestige by getting, at least the first time is getting to, I think it's the glitch, right? Or is it Galaxy? Okay, getting to Galaxy, get the Galaxy coin, and then you can prestige. And then I think, at least I'm still in the second prestige, or the second go around, because you restart and the coins are worth more. Then you have to get, I think it's like 2 coins after this ancient coin, because you get more coins. It's like lapis lazuli. I'm almost there, but if the whole point is to constantly prestige and all that stuff, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of getting a little bored. Because at this rate, it almost feels like I'm not. Let me get one of these. I'm gonna be clicking this, telling the stories, and we're gonna be here 20 videos from 20 videos, hopefully 20, but objectively in the future, like a year from now, we're barely gonna be getting into gold. So I'm gonna spend all until we get that. I might spend like a few minutes. Might let this just run in the background while I'm editing and stuff. I don't know. Anyways, as always, and I truly mean this, if you took the time to watch this video, especially, I can't imagine it's any shorter than 40 minutes. Thank you again. I hope you have a great day, week, month, or year, depending on if you want to come back to this channel. And to add on top of that, I do have a gaming channel called Lichta. If you want to go there, I've already put up 2 episodes of my Dark Deity 2 playthrough. It's a Fire Emblem inspired strategy, turn-based RPG, which is it's a phenomenal game. I love it. It's an improvement to the first one. It has its flaws, but I mean, every game has its flaws. So until next time, toodles.